going on, people? This is DJ Gun.tv. I go by the name of 279, aka the Numbers Man, aka 279, aka Mr. Hip Hop, aka Mr. Friday Night Flavors, Choice FM 96.9, 107.1. Do you know what? I've always loved hip hop music. In fact, I've always loved music. So, although I'm like, the hip hop DJ for the radio station, I think my inception into the world of hip hop was just the thing that everybody did. It was what was around when I was a youngster. You know what I mean? So it was like a kind of natural progression. I'm a fan of the music. I always was a fan, and I still am a fan. And that's how it started, really, from being a fan of the music and the culture. College days, I think, were, where you kind of home in on the music front, I suppose. I think I started kind of DJing and doing little bits and pieces, really just as a way of trying to make money while I was studying. It was never really anything serious at all. So, but I just kind of carried on, and I think, I always used to buy music and buy records, and after a while people started asking me to come and play them at their little parties and whatnot. But it was always just fun, and it was always just a hobby, and it was never really anything that I kind of thought, yeah, this is what I'm going to do. So I was much more of an academic person, and I think once I came out from doing all my studies and shit, the usual, you can't find a job and you don't just want to be doing nothing, and I suppose I had more time to spend with my hobbies, which were football, music, and eventually, one of my friends kind of asked me, why don't you do some pirate stuff, man? You got loads of records, and that's really when it kind of got a bit more serious, because I was like, okay, I did some demos for this station and they gave me some shows, and I kind of went in there and started doing the pirate radio shows. I kind of obviously listened to the legal stations like Capital at the time, just to kind of work out what they were doing and how they were doing it, and I just kind of applied the common sense things to what I was doing. Oh my god, one was called Groove FM, one was called, I can't even remember them all. One was called CRM Radio, one was called Centre Force, and a couple others. Can't even remember them all. That's bad, isn't it? But yeah, they just gave me a chance to just go on and play more music. So that gave me a reason to buy more music, because I wanted to obviously keep up with what was going on. Till eventually, whilst I was doing the show, I got a phone call from a guy who said he had a DJ agency. He wanted to kind of talk to me. Through meeting him, his name was Lance. He ended up kind of getting me a few gigs, which is how I first met Steve Wren, who used to work at Choice and used to do the hip hop show before I did. So we were playing in a club in Kent, and we kind of spoke, and he kind of offered me the chance to come and be part of what he was doing. So I was very much the kind of the understudy guy, learning what was going on, letting people in and getting cups of water and stuff. But through doing all that, I got to learn a lot about radio and about the inner mechanics of how everything worked. And I learned a lot from him. I owe him a lot. In fact, I owe him pretty much everything I've done, because if he didn't open his door to me, then I'd still be another one of those guys out there wishing that they could have a go. So I worked for him for a good 2-3 years and tried my best to kind of help him in what he was doing. We started like the club night, which went on to be very famous, called Flavour Month, which was my idea. I'm like, look, we need to start a night, and he was like, I ain't got no money. I said, I'll finance it. You be the front man, and I went about our business on the kind of promotional side. And then obviously the club night took off, and everybody came to it, and through that I got to meet loads of the people from the UK hip hop scene at the time, which back then was the early days of Roots and Groove and IQP and Black Twang and Funky DLs and Jonesy D's and Pogos and Swifts and all those kind of people, obviously. And it was just like a family gathering for people who were like-minded with the music. Do you know what I mean? So as it progressed, Steve kind of decided he didn't really want to do it anymore, and eventually Choice FM kind of called me and said, look, the boy doesn't want to do it. You're the natural successor. Do you want to do it? And of course I said yeah. So I kind of went about, revamping certain things and just trying to put my own little name on the map. So it was like me, Baby K, Big Ted was with me at the beginning, he used to work for Kiss, and we just all loved the music, man, so we just went at it, we just went out there to try and represent. I think at that point it was at a stage where, and I need to say this because before playing UK hip hop was fashionable, I was doing it. And I'm not a big-headed person who likes to brag, but it's a fact. Because I looked and I thought, hold on a second, we've got all these people around here and they can never go on the radio to do their thing. A lot of people didn't used to really play their songs. And I kind of made it my business to kind of go out there and reach out to people that I thought were good. You know, I used to have loads of open mic sessions, you know what I mean, with all sorts of people who've been in the game over the years. So, you know, when you see Chester P and Task Force characters and Skinny Man, they'll tell you, do you know what I mean? And I just kind of, all I really did was I tried to put into the radio show what I felt should have been there when I used to listen to other people's shows that was missing. And I think the kind of UK representation part of it was, to me, sadly missing back in those days, and I tried to readdress that. So now it's cool because everybody does it, so just thought I'd mention that. Boy, I looked up to people who were good at what they did. You know, I used to stand and watch Pogo and Swift and think, wow, how the hell did they get that good? Do you know what I mean? But also, you know, the producers and the rappers, you know, I used to look at Marty Marl, the DJing, you know, he was like, just the whole Juice Crew thing was just, it was just the one, you know what I mean? So those kind of people, because of their degrees of excellence, made you know that if you really want to kind of stand out of this, whatever it is you're doing, you really got to strive to be the very best you can be. Which I do have to say in 2009 is missing a little bit. I think there's a lot of people who are very mediocre at what they do, and they don't really push for that real excellence. And so that's kind of left a hole at the top of the hip-hop game, I think, in many respects. You know, I'm tired of going to clubs now and listening to DJs who just can't play. Do you know what I mean? And I'm thinking, how do you get a job? And mixing's all over the place, you know what I mean? So, but things have changed and moved forward, and I think that's also a part of it, because I came up through the culture of going out and searching for records and digging up breaks and going second-hand record stores, you know, trying to find stuff. Whereas now people just download it. So it means a lot more to me when I find some old Leon Ware album or some old Webster Lewis jazz album. Whereas today people are just downloading it, and I don't think they care as much. So there's not as much love and attention goes into the whole thing like there used to be. You know, I spent many hours, do you know what I mean, like trying to be better at DJing, and that Big Ted go, you're rubbish, brother, I'm much better than you, and in my mind thinking, yeah, don't worry, I'm gonna keep practicing, you know what I mean, and eventually you do get there. Whereas nowadays you feel like a lot of people don't necessarily want to put in those 4 or 5 hours a day constantly going at it to get good. And I think that's sad, because to me that's how hip hop got so famous, because so many people did that. And I think we need to kind of get back to the basics where that's concerned, to make sure that when you do come out, you really are good at what you say you're good at.